Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Maximum Guitar YouTube channel. My guest today is an award-winning guitarist who's appeared on video game soundtracks such as Crypt of the Necrodancer and The Binding of Isaac. He has over 300,000 subscribers on YouTube, and his new Octopath Traveler Cover Album, The Eightfold Road, drops October 28th. It's none other than the legendary FamilyJules. Jules, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for that amazing intro.
Yeah, I tried to bolster you a little bit, make you sound as impressive as possible. I probably didn't make you sound impressive enough, to be honest, because you have done so much for the YouTube music community. I mean, I think it's so fantastic that I got to interview you today specifically, that it happened to work out, because you are the main inspiration for me starting my channel, and just today I reached 1,000 subscribers.
Congratulations.
So
That's an amazing milestone.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and talk to you a little bit. This is a new show on my channel where I'm going to be interviewing various YouTube celebrities. I don't know, would you consider yourself a celebrity?
Nope.
Okay, well, so why don't you tell everyone a little bit about what it is you do here on YouTube?
So, since 2010, I've been doing guitar arrangements of video game music, mostly metal, mostly heavy metal, hard rock kind of style. But I've dabbled with classical guitar, acoustic, sometimes ska, sometimes reggae, sometimes just like whatever I think will fit the arrangement. I mean, that's pretty much it. I feel like it's not something that was like extremely new, but early on, I was the only one who was doing it at a ridiculous schedule, which was
Yeah.
weekly. So there was a lot of people doing video game covers similar to what I was doing on YouTube, but I think my mission was like I was seeing that channels at the time were doing better if they were uploading constantly. So
Mm.
I made this GoldenEye medley, and it took me about 2 weeks to make, and then I made another video right after that. I was just like, okay, how fast can I do another one? And it just so happened to be a week. So I was like, okay, so let's keep doing that. Let's see if I can keep doing that, get better at it so it doesn't take me a week, and so that like I can get better at it. It was always just kind of like I wanted to get better. I didn't really expect anybody to watch it or think it was good. Even just I wanted somewhere that I could put my music. And so it is now 2018, and for the better part of the past 8 years, I've been doing weekly video game covers.
Okay, I see. So I got a whole bunch of questions here, some that I've written, some from the fans on your Discord.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna start off with sort of a bit of a serious question, right? George Washington, first president of the United States of America. Okay, George Washington Carver, the guy who invented peanut butter. You have to have anal sex with one of them. Which one do you choose?
I'm done with this interview.
Okay. So why don't you go ahead and tell me a little bit about the new album you have coming out on October 28th? What is up with that?
So it's an Octopath Traveler arrangement album. It's a game that came out this year for the Switch. And it's a game that took me by surprise, and the music is one of my favorite soundtracks in a very, very long time, probably since Undertale or Nier. I'm not sure which one I like better, honestly. It's one of it's one of my favorite video game soundtracks of all time now. And I'm not a huge fan of turn-based RPGs in general, besides Pokemon and stuff like that, and even that I can't really do for very long. But Octopath's battle system, its art, and its music really kind of pushed me through, really made me excited about the game and really like enjoyed it. They had a demo that was like you could play the game for 3 hours before the game came out, and I was just like, I'll give it a try. And sure enough, I loved it, and I played through it, and I decided that so it's actually been something I've wanted to do for a while. I want to do albums that are all dedicated to one specific game. That way, if because I always hear people who I'll do a cover of a Nier song or a Persona song, and people will be like, oh, like you should do this one and this one and this one, and many times also saying like, hey, it would be really cool to hear a full album of this music. And kind of like the way that I've set up my channel, it's not really the pattern that I've set up to consistently do one game. And on one side, it's cool because that appeals to, I think, a number of people, because it'll be like, one week I do, Flame Mammoth for Mega Man X, but then I'll do Nier Automata, or then I'll do, something else. So, but I kind of felt like, okay, so the person who really liked that Mega Man track and is really into like retro style video games, they're going to tune out when I start doing new stuff, possibly. So what if I just try to like focus on one game? That way people really know what to expect. And that's a plan that I've had for many years. That's not even something that was like recent that I wanted to do. So when Octopath came out, I said, this is it. This is the one. And I just went hard. I just made that decision. I just said, okay, this is the one that I'm just going to go hard on. And then it got to the point where it's just like, okay, I'm doing so many, why not make an album? So that's kind of how it came about.
So the whole Octopath and just like, I'm going to go hard on this game came before the idea that you were going to do a whole album.
Yes, because I covered the battle theme. And when I covered the battle theme, it wasn't the plan to make the album at that point. But then as time went on, and I was listening to the soundtrack more, I was realizing how many songs I really wanted to do. So then I did Enveloped in Kindness. And then I was like, okay, this is starting to kind of become something that I really like. I was enjoying covering Octopath music more than I was enjoying covering some other songs that I was doing. And I decided that I should capitalize on that. I should not like monetarily, but almost like passion wise capitalize on it, because I knew that I have this passion in this stuff. Like, why not like really embrace that and try to make a project around that? So that's kind of like, I think it was a very slow burn, and it wasn't until probably mid-August that I decided that, okay, let's make an album.
Okay, yeah. So Octopath is not a wildly famous or popular game. So what is it that drew you to cover its music as opposed to a big AAA title or a game that has a massive fandom like Undertale, for example?
I liked it more. I mean, I've always kind of known from the beginning that I can't really sustain by just doing stuff that's popular if I don't really care about it. I know that my best work will be the stuff that I care about a lot. So I didn't really waste my time with trying to cover things just because it might get views. So
yeah, I mean, it's very clear that you're very passionate about this game's soundtrack, and it shows in your covers. But despite all of that, we live in a world where we are at the mercy of the algorithm on YouTube. So since you have been basically for, I think it's like 2 or 3 months now, basically only been doing Octopath covers, have the Octopath covers been doing as well as your other covers? Has that been hurting your channel, or has it been helping you out?
It's hurting my channel for sure. I think it's the first time that I've ever gotten comments that legitimately say, please stop. like every single video that I've put out for the past month there have been comments saying like, please cover other stuff. Like I'm tired of seeing the Octopath stuff. And that's not the majority of comments, but the view counts also represent that. So I was kind of left at a choice at the end of September, early October, that how to move forward, because the original plan for the album was it would be 28 tracks. I added 4 more because there was 4 that I really, really wanted to do, and I felt I could fit it in the schedule because like the date for the album was October 28th. From the beginning, because I was just like, October, Octopath, it fits. It's also a good stopping point, I feel like, to then move on to other things. Yeah, I think it's certainly. I definitely think that the algorithm and these like chases for the algorithm are, like it obviously affects people's videos and stuff, and but I feel like it can sometimes be a wild goose chase for a lot of channels to keep trying to and sometimes even an excuse to not make better content. Uh, I honestly feel like a lot of people find, when working with MCNs and working with channel managers, that they say like the things to optimize your place in the algorithm are very small things that you still need to hit something that's going to be popular, and something that's and like a good product that's going to be popular, that's going to keep people's attention. Um, I would argue more to say that I think this day and age, instead of an algorithm is what's pushing people to watch. I think it's more shocking, crazy pranks, and things like that are pushing. Like the Pauls and like a lot of the big channels these days. So I don't know. Memes.
Yeah.
Obviously. I think it's kind of oversimplification to think that the algorithm's something that really pushes that stuff. But anyways, about my videos in particular, I decided that I don't want to chase that stuff. I decided that I started YouTube so that I can make content that I want to do, and people have followed me and found me and subscribed to me because they enjoy watching what I want to do. So the second I start changing that to appease some algorithm or appease some greater population that I don't want as my fan base anyways, then what's the point of doing what I do?
Yeah, I see what you mean. So this album has 32 songs on it. That is a ridiculous amount of songs. So,
I know.
I mean, I remember talking to you, and you were saying like at one point for a couple weeks you were doing a cover a day from like basically from start to finish.
Yep.
That is absurd. How much did that wear on you?
Um. So through doing this for so long, I've been able to find ways to kind of maximize how much time I'm spending on the actual creative process and minimize the time that I'm doing monotonous stuff that I do every time. I'm a huge fan of like factorioing my process as much as I can to be able to have a really fast turnaround time and still be able to have the same um, kind of derivative style of what I do. I think it's very important to kind of not just do the same formula every time. So when it comes down to mixing and my Cubase template and stuff like that, and like where the tracks go, where the buses are, everything, that's the same for every single cover I do. And then once I'm done with recording it all, then I start adapting it. But it's all coming from a place that's pretty close to done. So it's not that much work. Say, for a quick example would be, I send the kick of my drum set out to the main stereo bus where everything else goes to a different bus. For audio nerds, it's for like a side chain compressor
Yeah.
essentially. But some covers I might not want to do that because it might cause a problem. But like I'll worry about that later. I just get the cover done. And I found different ways that works for me. I like writing out everything, and it takes a little time to write out everything, but then I have the entire thing written out the way I want it, and then I record it. So it's not really like I haven't really been open about that. That's kind of what ended up happening. But I think a lot of people do probably can tell this game came out in what, July? And now it's October, and there's 32 songs for this album. Like, I know it's insanity.
Yeah.
There was days that I did one of these songs in just a 24-hour time frame.
That is insane, dude.
Thank you. Well, again, it's a product of how long I've been doing this. So
Lots and lots of practice.
my thing was I didn't want to lose the quality for doing something like that. So it did wear on me, especially since there was many days where I did it in a row. But I don't think I still had free time. Once I was done with the cover, it was like I still, had time to relax and unwind and stuff like that. But it was a very intensive, like, maybe like 8 or 10 hours a day. I mean, yeah, it was intense, but it wasn't the entire day. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, there are 32 songs on this album. So, if you had to pick one particular song that is your favorite of not just the original compositions, but your specific cover of that song. What is your favorite cover that you've done? That's on the
Daughter
song?
of the Dark God, which is the last song. With that's with Adriana Figueroa.
Okay, excited to hear that one. Yeah. So we're gonna go ahead and move away from the album questions and just sort of ask you some more personal questions. So can you tell me a little bit about how you started playing guitar?
My uh, I had a step grandmother in my family that was we called her my nanny,
Okay.
um, and she is actually the person who got me into video games in general.
Wow.
She would play Mario 64 with me, Pilot Wings and stuff like that. And when I was about 14 or 15, um, she and my mother got me an acoustic guitar. Um, and it wasn't like I can't remember who I was talking to recently, but there was a moment in time before that I remember holding a guitar in my hand, trying to figure it out, and then just coming to the decision that this isn't what I'm going to do with my life. And I gave it back to my friend who like let me. I was just like,
Hmm.
I don't think I'm built for this. I'm probably just gonna like if it's music, I'll play piano or drums. It won't be anything like this. But then I got a guitar, and I don't really remember um why I was so entranced by it. I remember I got like a Guitar for Dummies book, which essentially like told you the basic chords,
Yeah.
C, E, all those chords, and I learned them. And for some reason, I was just so motivated to get those down and memorize them and build my calluses as fast as possible so I could play the songs that I loved by like Avenged Sevenfold and Streetlight Manifesto and stuff like that. I was in such a rush to be able to play that stuff. Um, so then, yeah, that's about how I started.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. And you said you had that relationship with your grandmother playing video games. Is that the reason that you do video game music now, or there are various factors that led to you being the video game music guy and doing that as
Um,
opposed to more traditional music, like Avenged Sevenfold, for example, on YouTube?
yeah. I think it was just there was plenty of covers of Avenged Sevenfold on YouTube. There wasn't many covers of um the songs that I was also having fun playing, which is like F-Zero X, GoldenEye, Banjo-Kazooie, like things like that. Like I remember there was a long period of time that I stopped playing video games completely when I was a teenager.
Mm.
And I just focused on being in a band, or I just focused on, learning, Avenged Sevenfold or Lamb of God and stuff.
Mm.
And then I can't remember what started, but then I heard a song from F-Zero X, and I was super nostalgic from it. I think I heard like Mute City from the original F-Zero or something like that, and and I was like, oh man, I played so much F-Zero X, and it was all just shreddy guitar. So then I was like, okay, like, has anyone else tried to do this? And sure enough, yes, they have. And
Yeah.
yes, there were tabs of it. And so I printed out all the tabs I can find. I learned all these songs, and I had it was a different experience than it felt almost more refreshing and more creative that I was doing something like that rather than just playing, just recreating the stuff from like Event Sevenfold or something like that.
Yeah.
So I remember I actually my mom had a GarageBand, so she bought like
Mm.
some iMac or something at some point, and she had GarageBand on her computer, and I was always really interested in recording. And one of the first things that I recorded was a mini like video game medley. Was with like I think there was like the Banjo Kazooie theme and like
Mm.
Kirby and stuff, and this was like way before YouTube. There actually was later a medley that I made of the Warp songs from Ocarina of Time
Wow.
uh, that I recorded in Audacity by plugging a distortion pedal into the mic input of my computer, and then using Guitar Pro drums on top of it. It
Nice.
sounded awful. It was so bad, but these videos that I did on YouTube were not the first video game metal stuff. So
Yeah.
again, I think it progressed slowly over time.
Yeah, that reminds me of. I remember before I started doing YouTube. This was like probably like maybe even 2 years before I started doing YouTube videos. I had this idea in my head of like, I really like the overworld themes from the Mario games, the 2D Mario games. So what
Mhm.
if they were like all strung together as one song. And I like
Yep.
made an arrangement, and it was just in my head. And like I would take a shower and I'd like hum it to myself whenever I got in the shower. And I would do this for 2 years. And then I started doing YouTube. I'm like, I'm gonna make this. I'm gonna make this, and I did. And it was just so satisfying to finally, be able to show this idea that I had to people. So yeah, no, that's really really cool. So where is it that you got the idea specifically to do covers the way that you do, with like the various camera shots that you'll do? Who did you like model yourself after? Why do you record covers the way you do? Why do you track them the way you do? Things like that.
The main influence was CS Guitar 89.
The legend.
So he was doing pretty much the same thing I was doing before I was. And he had multiple camera angles. He had an amazingly clear sound. I was amazed that he was recording this well in his room. And it's funny because I think that thought of just like, if this guy can do it, why can't I? Like what's stopping me from being able to record and sound this good where I'm at? And the answer was he just had a way better ear than me, but I didn't realize that for years later. I went on YouTube and I found tutorials, and I learned how to record everything. I figured out my own style to it, but yeah, he was the main influence. Metal Daniel 03 was another one. He did a cover of like To Xanarkand, which I saw. But back then there weren't a lot of people doing that kind of stuff. Toxic Eternity, he was doing it, but like he didn't really have video for it. He just kind of he did this Gobi's Valley cover that absolutely blew my mind, from Banjo-Kazooie. But it was like a picture of Banjo-Kazooie, like over it, and then his arrangement of it with just that background.
Yeah. That's really, really cool that it's like, there's like this legacy of folks, and, you're part of that totem. And I think that's, I just think that's really cool. So can you list, like, it can be YouTubers, it can be literally anyone. Can you list some of your biggest musical inspirations?
I'd say Sin Gates from Avenged Sevenfold, CS Guitar 89, because he inspired me to, kind of do what I do. Jim Morrison from The Doors is a very interesting one. I very inspired by Lady Gaga. She's amazing. The guitarist of Lamb of God. What else? And then as far as that's for like metal stuff, but compositionally, I'm very inspired by Danny Baranowski. Very inspired by I like Grant Kirkhope and all of the Rareware composers, or I guess they were just Rare. Robin Beanland, Graham Norgate, all those guys. There was a bunch of composers for THQ Volition, who did the music for Summoner and Red Faction, which were really, really big. Really, like, I haven't done a whole lot of music from those games, but they're not really like guitar-able for the most part.
Okay.
I mean, they could be, but I don't know. I've never gotten around to it. But Scott Lee, and Dwayne Decker, who did the music to Rise of Nations, is a big one too.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously you have a lot of these musical inspirations in your life, and you probably heard about them from different periods in your life. So when you were younger, like say 13 to 16, what did like little Jules think, this is my band, this is my music? And how did you discover them, and when did you discover them?
I was really into kind of like ska and punk at that time. I was really influenced by like the Tony Hawk series, and eventually by extension got into some ska bands that weren't necessarily featured in those games, like Millen Collins, Streetlight Manifesto, Voodoo Glow Skulls, bands like that. But I was really into punk bands like Rancid, the Distillers, stuff like that. I never really got into like Black Flag or NoFX or any bands like that, but I was kind of picky about that stuff. But there was I had a friend who I was playing Battlefield 1942 with, who she asked me, she was just like, "What kind of music do you listen to?" And I was just like, "These are the bands I listen to." And she's just like, "No, no, 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 get that out of here!" Like, and then sent me Vermilion Part 2 by Slipknot
Mm,
and I Won't See You Tonight Part 2. No, I Won't See You Tonight Part 1 by Avenged Sevenfold.
okay.
And I Never Looked Back. No, I did. I still listen to all that stuff. But that was kind of like the turning point for me. And that's what kind of broke me into Lamb of God and like a lot of these other bands that then eventually became like my biggest guitar influences.
That's pretty. That's pretty dang cool. So I can see right now that you've got some fancy guitars sitting in the background, and we all know that, and it's so cool that you have the opportunity to be sponsored by Ernie Ball and Schechter.
Yeah.
So how did you get these opportunities, and what benefits have these sponsorships given you?
Ernie Ball was the first one. They contacted me. I actually contacted them a long time ago, just as like a, let's see if this happens. It probably won't, but whatever. And sure
Yeah.
enough, they ignored me. But eventually, like I think what happened was um, Ernie Ball is amazing in that they have always kind of been ahead of the curve. Uh, I think that they very quickly saw the influence that the online generation was having. YouTube, Twitch, a lot of these were having like suddenly like no, like very few people were going to live shows, but then they would see the views that these videos would get and the views that these streams would get, and they were like, "Wait a minute! Like there's a lot of potential here. There's a lot of these artists are doing a lot more for us than some of the artists in the old school music industry scene." You know, so I think that and you can see this with artists like Jason Richardson, Jared Dines,
Mhm.
like a lot of these big YouTubers and stuff were approached by Ernie Ball,
Yeah,
and I think it's really really cool. So they actually reached out to me
that's
at
so
some point.
cool.
Yeah, it's really awesome. They sent me an email that said like, "Hey, we're from Ernie Ball, and we would love to talk to you about maybe." Just it wasn't even like a very serious thing. They were just like, we want to just talk about what we can offer you and how we can essentially all like work something out. And that was at that point in my YouTube career, that was something I was very interested in because I would get sponsorship deals through my multi-channel network Screenwave, but
Mhm.
nothing really made any sense for the content that I made. Like making music covers. This wasn't a sponsorship program that I was ever approached with, but like I'm just like Better Shave Club or whatever it
Yeah,
is.
the
Like
Dollar
how
Shave Club.
Dollar Shave Club. Like
Yeah.
how am I gonna push that? As like a video. So I always had to turn them down because I was just like, if I made like a video, it's just like, here's Storm Eagle by Mega Man. By the way, you want to shave real good? Like it didn't make any sense. So,
Get your shave
but
on
then
like Mega Man. Look at that
yeah,
baby
man,
face.
yeah, look at that smooth face. Yeah, it didn't make any sense. So, and it's very important for me that I'm not. It's not like selling out so much as like I'm not making the content that I myself wouldn't want to watch. If I saw
Mm.
somebody like me suddenly pushing something like that, I'd be like, what are you doing? Like that doesn't make any
Yeah.
sense. However, with Ernie Ball or with Schechter, that makes a lot more sense.
Yes,
Especially if
definitely.
I was watching me, I didn't have a YouTube channel and I was looking for strings or looking for a guitar and I liked this person's music, I'd be like, what do they use? That made sense to me.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it was a really good situation. And yeah, so for Schechter, Schechter was a longer process, but Schechter is a company that I've always used throughout my playing. I mean, Ernie Ball too, but um, I really wanted a sponsorship with Schechter because I felt like I was their demographic almost. Like
Hmm.
I'm a dark brooding edgelord, and that seems like their artist roster. So not really, but it's something that like I liked their guitars. I thought I'd be a good fit for them, and I thought I could do a lot for them as much as they could do for me. So I really seeked that out, and it did work out eventually, and that's how I got that one too.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's really really cool. I mean, like everybody wants to be sponsored by Ernie Ball and Schechter. You know, it's like it's the
Not
dream.
everybody.
Okay, maybe not
Yeah.
everybody. There's some asshole out there who's like Schechter guitars.
It was my dream. I'm right now
Okay.
sponsored by the two companies I care the most about in guitar. and I couldn't be happier.
Yeah. So on your YouTube channel, you market yourself as being a metal guy. Uh,
Hmm.
and you play classical guitar in your covers, not just like in your spare time. Like you have acoustic covers, you have some jazz covers. So why
Hmm.
is it that you say to everyone, I'm a metal dude and not I'm just a music dude? Why metal?
It's the majority of what I do.
Okay.
The stuff that I have the most fun doing is metal covers. Or like I feel like I do enjoy doing other things, but that's the thing that I always find myself wanting to do is a metal cover of blank.
Mm.
Classical guitar, yeah, like I do that stuff too, and I think I list those videos as such, but I feel like it would be tough to kind of market that.
Yeah, okay. I see what you mean. It's like it's a sharper sort of like this is where it's at. This is like if you subscribe to my channel, this is what you're gonna get. And there's other
Yeah, and
stuff
people,
too,
yeah,
but you get the metal.
yeah, and
Okay.
that's the biggest scope of what I have to offer.
Okay.
So,
I see. So you recently, and I mean not recently, but you used to live in Massachusetts when you
mhm.
started your YouTube channel, and then you moved to California. And I mean, I remember when you moved to California, and you said, I'm going to be moving in with roommates, and then boy flop happened, and there was all that, and I'm just curious. Well, first of all, have you ever lived on your own in California? And you've definitely had a lot of roommates. How many different people have you lived with since you've been to California or have moved to
uh,
California?
a lot. I mean, I've lived in two different houses, but over the course of those two different houses, I've lived with a total, I'll live like 9 people.
Mm.
Um, at one point, in this house I'm living at now, there was 8 total people living here.
Wow.
It's 4 right now, and it's much more manageable. But when I originally moved to California, it was with 2 other people.
Hmm. Yeah, man. So you definitely have made a lot of friends, though, that have very similar interests to you. So
Yeah,
that's good to not be alone in an area that you don't really know anyone in.
yeah.
So I know the answer to this question, but I just wanted to bring it up because I mean I could see it right there. Have you ever modified any of your instruments?
Yes. I don't. I'm not really a huge gearhead. I'm
Mm.
much more like I wanna plug in my guitar and go.
Yeah.
And when it comes down to sound, like I'll fix it if it's broken. But when it comes to actually like trying to like maximize like the sound or whatever, like make
Hmm.
it sound punchier, make it sound like whatever, like I get really lost in that, and sometimes I kind of lose focus of like what I actually enjoy. Not that I don't enjoy making a good product like that, but it's not my passion is playing the guitar and making the arrangements. It's not really so much having the Meshuggah tone, or like figuring out how to go about finding that, or the
Mm.
tone that I'm looking for. So I've dabbled though. I've definitely played around with different things. Like I mean, this is my Gibson Explorer. I don't play this as much as as much as I used to
Hmm.
anymore. But I have a gold plate on it just for the like. I just thought it would be cute with my branding since I've got a lot of black and gold
Yeah.
branding and stuff. But as far
Cutesy
as actual
branding.
yeah, as far as actual music stuff, so I had a PRS custom 24/7 string that I actually forced in some bare knuckle aftermath pickups. They didn't
Mm.
quite fit in the cavity, but I sure made them fit in there.
Nice.
And it sounded great. I love the sound of those pickups, but I have a problem with the actual scale length of the guitar, so I don't really play
Mm.
that one very often either. But other than that, man, most of my stuff is stock. Like I got the Majesty, didn't change anything on that. I've got this is the Banshee. Didn't change anything on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we know that you are making a living doing stuff on the internet. So you're
Hmm.
selling albums, you've got merch, you've got Patreon, you've
Yep.
got YouTube, you've got guitar lessons. How do you manage all this stuff? How many sources of income do you have, and like, is it difficult to manage?
I think I wouldn't say it's like I'm in a routine, like I'm in a
Okay.
very, very like I do guitar lessons on one day out of the week, and then that's like when I deal with those. And I don't really have many students.
Hmm.
With the video game stuff, like for YouTube and stuff, like that's something that like kind of is a low. That's like when I have free time, that's when I work on. Like that's what I work on. So naturally, I never have free time. But then Twitch is something that I also do. I'm a partner on Twitch, and I stream. Well, I haven't streamed in a while because I've been kind of working on the album and traveling and stuff like that. But there's that. There's also I worked on Crypt of the Necrodancer, so I do like video game composition stuff, and when I well, that wasn't a composition, but like like video game stuff that isn't related to YouTube, like
Yeah.
that's something I also do. um and yeah, so it's a lot of different things, but it all kind of um it's all just part of a routine that I've kind of developed over the years. But yeah, that's yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, would you have any advice for any aspiring artists? Not necessarily YouTubers or not necessarily guitarists, but just people who want to do stuff kind of like you do. Do you have any like little tidbits of advice to give them?
Yeah, you have to do something different. I mean, it's I see so many people, following in the footsteps of, um, the people doing what I do. A lot of people who haven't really, they kind of look at it like, okay, I want to do what they do, and then they get confused when it's not as successful as them. And that's sad because I've seen a lot of artists come and go on YouTube in the 8 years that I've been,
Hmm.
who do this or things similar to this, and then just get frustrated that they're not getting views, and then they stop. Um, I think that what's important is that you're doing you're I feel like what's important is that you are doing it for a cause that you find is noble.
Hmm.
Because eventually, if that's not the case, then it's going to catch up with you. Um, and it's going to make you want to not do it anymore. And the thing that really always pushed me to do it is like, I didn't really start doing this for money or viewers and stuff. I did it so that like I had something that I knew that I was progressing. Every video I did was going to be better than the last one. And in some ways, I feel like I've succeeded at that, even to this day. And I see that in the comments. Like I released a video today and, I got really amazing comments of people saying like, you know, this is the best cover you've ever done.
Yeah.
I've also got covers or comments of people saying like, please stop Octopath. I'm dying. But there's also, quality wise, I think I've improved. And
Hmm.
that's ultimately, that's my cash in. That's like when I get things like that of like people genuinely like your stuff's getting better and I feel like my stuff's getting better. That's what keeps me going. And
Okay.
that's what's
Yeah.
always kept me going. If you worry about if you're doing it for the views, man, you better be like hounding the top 40 Billboard, only covering memes. Like otherwise, you're
Yeah.
not gonna be happy,
Hmm.
for very long at least.
Yeah.
So I would say keep that all in mind. Also, like I do want to do a video at some point, of like the like the top 10 things I've learned and
Wow.
knowledge
So
I want
much
to pass on to
knowledge. Yes.
yeah, that I want to pass on to musicians. There's that. I also think it's very important to make sure you're always on the path to your end goal. I think a lot of people do covers and stuff because they want to build an audience that then they can do original music and then they'll listen to it.
Hmm.
That's a great idea until you get to that point, because what then happens is a lot of people have, started following you for a certain reason. But then when you change that reason, I mean, you will have people that, you have a hardcore fan base and people who will listen to anything that you want to do, but people followed you for your covers,
Yeah.
and I mean, this is something that like that was always my thing. I wanted to do original music someday, but then as time went on, I started realizing it's just like, I wouldn't feel good about doing that. Like unless I built another channel or something around that. But that's like me personally. So always be pushing towards your main goal. Um, Family Jewels is probably never going to be anything other than video game guitar well, guitar covers. I've done like anime and
Yeah.
other stuff, but it probably won't be anything other than guitar covers. Probably. I'm not making any super promises, but and that's not a promise that I'll make a second channel or anything. But
Hmm.
there's that, and do something different. Figure out what your spin on it is. I don't know what that's going to be. I can't, like, nobody can tell you what your spin that you're going to be able to put on your art is going to be. But whatever that is, that's what's going to set you apart, and that's what you need to strive to figure out. And
Yeah.
you also have to be okay with failing,
Oh
because
yeah.
you might think that that's the thing, but if it doesn't work out, the worst thing that you can do is be like, well, I tried, screw it, I'm gone, I'm done deleting my channel. Like,
Hmm.
you have to try something else, and eventually, you got to kind of, be real and be like, okay, well, maybe I'm better shooting hoops. Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
dude.
that's messed up, but like, it's
Can we
also
get
just kind of
a
like,
Family Jewels basketball team going on here?
that's honestly, like, I was joking with a friend of mine, that's like, I had a guitar teacher who that was his thing. He'd just be like, sometimes he'd be like, sometimes I've got students who, like, they're great, and sometimes I've got students who, like, are maybe a little bit lost, but they're still talented. But man, I've got some students that I just kind of want to say, man, maybe you'd be better shooting hoops. And I'm just, and like, that's like a harsh truth.
Yeah.
My like, again, I'm sorry, I'm you know going so hard on this question, but it's
No, no,
something
go
I
for
am
it.
I am passionate about. The director of my college
Hmm.
um put it this way, and this is gonna all sound like too long did not read, quit. No, but like, if you hate cutting onions, if it's the worst thing in the entire world for you, maybe you shouldn't be a cook. And
Yeah.
that's something that, like, I don't want to encourage people to stop, but I want everybody to just have a quick reality check. If they're like, building calluses is the worst thing, or like, playing basic bar chords is the worst thing, and I have never had any desire or passion to do it, yet I'm still playing guitar,
Maybe don't.
maybe don't,
Yeah.
and it's fine to don't, it's fine to not,
Yeah.
and I don't know, it's just like, so that's a few things that I feel like, and it's a list I'm building over time, and some things I might not agree with in the future, but that's kind of how I feel right now.
Yeah. All right. So, tell me, what is the hardest thing about your job? The single hardest thing about your job?
Making my own hours,
Okay.
because
Yeah.
I get a lot of things when, like, I have a lot of guilt when, like, it's not always fun, it's not always like, there are times when it's, depressing to feel like, oh, well, I wish this video did better, or, oh, I wish I could have gotten my guitar to sound better, or like, oh man, like, the bass didn't really cut through in my mix, or oh, I thought I would enjoy doing this song, and then as I went on, I didn't really enjoy it. Like, there are low points, and then there's also this kind of, like, guilt and assumed thing. It's just like, well, if you hate it so much, then why don't you work retail? Like, you're so privileged for having what you have, and stuff like that. It's like, I mean, that has its pros and cons too. And
Yeah.
that sounds like super light. Like, who am I to say? I mean, I've worked Subway. I've worked
Yeah.
all this. I've worked different kinds of jobs, and a big thing that I don't think really people talk about is, if you work for Subway and you mess up, then you get fired,
Yeah.
and that's it. You get another job.
Mm.
If I screw up as a personality, as somebody who's like, I wouldn't say I'm not like a popular personality that people have me under a microscope all the time, but I can't get fired from myself. I can't
Yeah.
let that go. Whatever I say online, the content that I put on, that's my name. I am the Subway.
Yeah.
And that has a lot of pressure that, is hard for at least me not to think about a lot. Um, so there's that, and there's just the guilt of, like, you don't ever want to, like, talk about that stuff, and the stuff that is hard, because you kind of feel like it's just like, the people who don't understand what it's like to do this stuff feel like, how dare you? You know, like
Yeah.
you were so privileged to have this. And like, yeah, I am insanely grateful to be able to do what I do and be able to eat food, you know,
Yeah.
like, and not have to get a second job. The way I see it is like the people who support me monetarily, um, aren't necessarily like, I don't really see it as just like they're paying for the music so much as they're like, I like this and I don't want you to have to get a second job so that you can make more of this thing that I like watching. You know, that's the way that, and I mean, maybe that's still arguably like I'm paying for your music, but
Mm.
when I see it like that, yeah, I don't know. So the
Mm.
hardest part for me is uh video editing. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay. Well,
After
I
all of
mean,
that into
like,
something like super. No, I don't know. I honestly just think it's um. I think it is kind of just like, you know, all that out the window. Like when you make your own hours and you're kind of just working on your own clock and your own boss. A lot of the time that you feel like something doesn't do as well as you thought it would do,
mm,
the obvious answer is I need to work harder. You know, like if I worked a little bit harder, maybe it would have done well. Um, and there's no boss, there's no coworker. Well, there might be coworkers. I mean,
yeah.
I had Rich and John, you know, for a long time who did similar things that I did that I used to live with. That would be that kind of just like you know, sometimes a reality check kind of a thing. But you have nobody who tells you you're working too hard. You know, there's nobody there to tell you like, no, it's just you don't need to work harder, or somebody who tells you specifically where you need to work harder. Because sometimes you tell yourself, I just need to go harder. I just need to work harder. And it's not productive. You just kind of then just put more hours into it and take more hours away from your life and stuff like that. So I think sometimes it's hard to manage that time and manage that whole aspect when the stuff that you're putting out has that pressure of representing you,
Mm,
not Subway, but you.
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. No, I get that. That, you know, you are a one person thing. It is your responsibility, is you who's in charge. Whereas if you're working at Subway or any other corporation, you're just like one small part. You're one small part, and it's not gonna stain you if you mess up. Like, you might lose your job, and then you just get another one.
You might not. Yeah, you might not get a recommendation from them. You know, that
Yeah.
might suck if that's the only job you have. You know. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah. So we've all heard the joke, right? That you stick your dick in an outlet to get your hair the way that you do, right?
Mhm.
How do you actually do your hair?
It's got to be glued. It's a hairspray.
It's a hairspray.
Yes.
Okay, it's a brand, and you just throw that on like whenever you film a video. Just
Yep.
stick it up,
Pretty much.
and there it is,
Pretty much.
folks. The 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 legends. They were all false. It's just hairspray. All right.
Yeah. All myths are just that, myths.
Yep. So, was there anything important about how you grew up, or your upbringing, that shaped your musical career and made you so great at music? Anything about your childhood or your life growing up that made you the way you are about music?
No.
No, not at all.
I was an angsty teenager, and music was the way that I got it out. I mean, that's not really much of an interesting story. I don't think. I didn't really have musical parents. I didn't really have a musical upbringing. I didn't have a piano teacher that slapped my wrist with a ruler, or you know, a guitar teacher that, you know,
You just did it.
I just did it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it was something that I felt like I was good at. So I worked really hard.
Yeah. And look how far you've come by
Yeah.
just saying, "I'm going to do it," and you did it. And here you are.
Maybe that's motivation to the people who don't like who see the people who are like, when I was 3 years old, I had a violin instructor who, you know, pumped me full of Adderall and made me learn every scale. You know, I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
it's like a lot of people do think that like they turn the age of 12 and they're like, I've missed my, you know, it's like, no, dude, like Jimi Hendrix didn't play guitar until he was like 18, I think.
Yeah, I think.
And he
I
died.
should
He
know.
died at 27. So within a 10-year period of time, he changed everything.
Yeah.
About guitar.
Yeah.
So
Dude.
like that. I mean, that's that's the Wayne Gretzky don't, you miss all the shots you don't take or whatever of guitar. It's just like it's never too late as long as you've got 10 years like presumably have 10 years left to live, you can still do a lot.
Yeah. So this is an interesting question that I came up with because I don't know if I've ever heard it asked to any video game musician before. Is there any video game that you've played where the game is like whatever, right? Maybe it's incredible, maybe it's not that great, but the OST is just fucking terrible? Have you ever played a game like that you can think of? I mean, I don't know if you want to call any composer out, or if it's like a really old game. You don't have to answer that question if you can't come up with anything.
No, I can't think of anything.
Well, maybe that's why the question doesn't get asked, is because we don't want to hurt people's feelings.
I don't know. I wouldn't
like literally
feel bad, honestly. Like I can't think of anything. I mean, all of the memey bad soundtracks. I like like I'm trying to think of like objectively bad video game music. I think of just like the Spider-Man 2 pizza theme, where it was like the out of tune like. Yeah, but I mean that wasn't even like a video game theme, wasn't it? It was just a classical piece.
Crazy Bus, dude. Like,
I mean, that was interesting.
Yeah, it was. It's something like that was the point.
It's funny. It's it does like I can't imagine somebody put a random note generator saying like this is going to be real music. Maybe they did. Maybe they liked serialism, music or something like that. But like I don't. I mean, even Mansion Basement. There's no way that somebody from the Resident Evil director's cut. There's no way that whoever wrote like like actually. So I mean, I don't know. I just don't know.
Well, there you have it. So moving on to a sort of a couple serious questions here, like some deeper questions. What is the biggest fear that you have about your career?
I don't have a lot of fears about it because I feel like I'm really lucky to have multiple avenues now. I think in the beginning, my fear was that YouTube would crumble and crash, and then I would have nothing. But luckily, it's lasted long enough where, I mean, I could always give guitar lessons, and I would still enjoy it. I mean, I might not make as much money, but I would still enjoy it. I could always move on to doing studio work, Might not, like, I mean, there's no royalties there. You get paid a flat rate for doing studio work for the most part. Wouldn't make as much money, but that's fine. I mean, I could compose for video games. That'd be harder. It'd be harder to move into something like that. I might make more money doing that. So it's kind of like career-wise, if my ears get chopped off, I'll have to figure something else out.
Well, I mean, if you get like the cartilage of your ears chopped off, you could still hear. You'd just be disgusting and nubby. And...
look like a Dark Souls enemy.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. No, I don't really have too many huge fears over the long term. I'm pretty happy with my options.
Yeah, I see what you mean there. So let's talk a little bit about Replay. That video is how many years old now? Like 4 years old, right?
4 years old.
So does it bug you at all that you haven't had a video that's ever surpassed that in 4 years? And if that is the case, which it is, like, do you know why that is? And do you feel like that's in your control? And like, how much does it bug you?
No and not much. I mean, it's like Patreon really kind of saved the day for YouTube for me in that I was able to not really have to worry about like trying to get 1 million views on a video. Like it bugs me that like again, like I don't like expressing disdain for the success that I've had because comparatively to many people, my success has been great. But I mean, so after Replay, I took a break so that I could work on the VVVVVV album, and then the Necrodancer album.
Yeah, yeah.
And I did a few covers in between there, but not many. You know, I took kind of a few months off, you know, over the course of like a year and a half or so. Came back and did the top 10 medleys. And the top 10 medleys were an idea that I was very proud of. I thought they were really good. Not just from the perspective of it's something that might do well on YouTube, but I thought that it was taking an idea that I really liked, which is watchmojo.com, and putting my own spin on it in a way that's creative that nobody else was doing. And even the most successful one of those videos, which seems like it gets almost pushed more than replay sometimes, didn't hit 1 million views. So then I was like, okay, well, you know, I got to work up to, you know, trying to figure out, like, you know, again, hitting 1 million views, like once Patreon hit, man, like it didn't really like, it was nice because I could still support myself. I could still pay my bills and stuff like that. But I guess the discomfort was growth. You know, it was, I felt like I was sinking. Like I couldn't do anything that good ever again. Even though I knew that I could do something better than replay, like quality wise and content wise. Like I thought replay was a great idea. But I thought top 10 medleys was a more original, you know, a bigger scale idea than just like, here's the history of video gaming with a video game every year, you know? So then I decided I would do what I got so popular in the first place of doing, which is a year of weekly video game covers, of just random video game covers, but never missing a week. And also sprinkling in medleys every month, and doing something new. Every time I did a year of weekly videos, I did something new on top of what I did last year. And the one that was for year 4 was that I would do collabs every month, like one collaboration every month with another artist.
Yeah, I remember that.
So the first collaboration I did was with Caleb Hiles, and we did Through the Fire and the Flames. That didn't get 1 million views. In fact, it got to about 500,000, and then it stopped. It didn't really move. And then over time, it sprinkled in. It's probably about like 700, 800K now, which is amazing. I'm so grateful that so many people have watched that. But that's the kind of video that like a channel with 0 subscribers would post, and then it would go viral, and everybody like, ooh, wow, Through the Fire and Flames, you know, this person played it. So I wasn't too salty about it, though. I was just kind of like, okay, well, again, I'm still picking up from those years I haven't really been uploading. So then I did a video with the amazing John Petrucci, and we did the most famous video game song of all time. And that got to about like huge press coverage. Huge. You know, like all over the place. People were talking about it. Got to about 700K. Stopped. No push. Not sure why. And it just, you know, it's probably around 800K. Really cool. So then I decided to completely surpass my idea of replay. I would do the biggest collaboration that's on YouTube, that's on the internet, of a musical thing. I researched it. It is the biggest collaboration ever on YouTube. And it would be well produced. The video would be much more enjoyable to watch. And I even went online and I said, "This is bigger than replay."
And it was
objectively.
It was. So much bigger.
And I had, you know, a huge push of it was having Jack's Films on it, who's a channel with, you know, 5 or 6 million subscribers. And it hit 200K because he pushed it hard. Like, thank you so much, Jack. Like, he did so much for that he didn't have to do, and I'm so grateful. Hit 200K, and then it didn't move. And, you know, like, again, I hate to sound like I'm ungrateful for the success that I do, but it's hard to see things like that and not feel like I can't ever hit 1 million views ever again. Maybe I will one day. And, you know, but it is frustrating. And I as much as I want to be grateful for what I do have, I'd like to be honest, you know, and I don't want to lie to people and say that, you know, seeing that didn't really kind of like affect the future of my channel. And what I wanted to do with it. And the thing that I decided to do with that is say, let's do an album of a game that I really love and not care if the viewers go down.
Yeah.
because I'm going to do something that I'm proud of, regardless of how many people watch it.
Yeah, and it's certainly looking like it's going to be good. So I have one more personal question before we move on to the quicker segments. So, what is your name? We all call you Jules, but is your name actually Julian? Is it Julius? Or is it just Jules?
It's technically Julian, but I nobody calls me that. Everyone calls me
Okay.
Jules. It's like it's like if you have a friend named Daniel, but it's weird to call him Daniel. You know, you just call him Danny.
Yeah, there you go. Does your mom call you Julian, or does even she call you Jules?
She calls me Jewel. She shortens it
Jewel?
further.
Jewel?
Yeah, like
Okay.
no S. Yeah, uh, but like yeah, it's everybody else calls me Jules.
All right. So we're moving on to the next segment here. This is the lightning round, where these are really stupid short questions that I came up with really late at night, and I was really tired, and I don't even remember most of these. So I'm going to ask you them and try to answer them as quickly and concisely as possible. Are you ready?
Sure.
Okay. What is your favorite album right now?
First one that hit my head was "Everything Goes Numb" by Streetlight Manifesto.
Okay. What's your favorite curse word?
Frick.
Frick. Okay. Nice. We're on that Minecraft Christian server right now.
Yeah.
What's the last thing that you ate?
An omelet.
Nice. How's your mom doing right now?
I think she's doing well. She keeps sending me pictures of my cat and saying that she's getting fat.
That's great. What's your favorite video game right now?
Right now, I'm playing Dark Souls on the Switch, and I love it.
Hell yeah, dude. What's your favorite color?
Purple.
Excellent choice. What's the most times you've masturbated in one day?
Uncountable. At a certain point, you just stop counting. Why? Why even bother?
Yeah, I mean, what's the most annoying thing that happens when making a video?
I feel like it's program crash. Even if you lose like 5 minutes of progress, it's like that Dark Souls death of just like, God, now I have to walk all the way there. It's like like it's not like I very rarely lose a huge amount of work because I'm a habitual saver. But I think the worst thing is when a program crashes, which Cubase has usually been pretty good with me, but Premiere Pro, man, no, you gotta Adobe, you gotta fix that program, dude.
Yeah, come on, Adobe. What the hell?
It's been like 20 years, dude. Come on, make a program that works.
Yeah. What are your favorite strings?
It depends on the guitar.
Okay.
Skinny top, heavy bottom from Ernie Ball for electric guitar. I like if it's like a rhythm guitar that's a 6-string, I like the beefies, and I usually tune it down to a drop C. But for a 7-string, I like the Power Slinkies, the Power Slinky 7s. For bass strings, I really like, right now what I've got on my bass, this is something I've been doing more lately, is I've been using flat wound Ernie Ball 5-string bass strings. And I love them a lot, something that the bassist in my band Thunderforge turned me on to. And I was just like, why do you do this? That's like a jazz thing. And he actually made a good point, because when you have flat wounds, it actually changes where the resonant frequency is on your bass. And for my mixes, I found that resonant frequency cuts through a lot more than round wound strings for me. Then for classical guitars, the Ernesto Paula, whatever that from Ernie Ball. I mean, they sound great. I love them. And then I think I use the Earthwood something for steel string acoustic. I can't remember. Okay. I'm a horrible sponsee.
Nice. What's your favorite instrument that you own?
My favorite instrument that I own is probably a tie between this one, which is the Cordoba C7. It's starting to get old. I might want to upgrade to a C9 or a C11 or whatever the next one of it. And the Ernie Ball, Music Man, Majesty, Monarch. Purple.
Okay. What's your favorite instrument that you don't own?
I have always wanted to own the Deathclock Thunder Horse Explorer. It's a silver burst guitar. That was what I was almost going to buy if I didn't buy the Gibson Explorer that I have here. But I've always wanted one of those. And I don't know, probably this is a super cop-out, but the Majesty Monarch 7-string.
Yeah. Hey, and there you go. Okay, what's your favorite instrument that you can't play?
The cello.
Nice.
I would say the drums. I can't play the drums.
Okay.
I love the drums.
I don't even know if you can answer this question. It's stupid. What's your favorite key?
F sharp minor or A minor?
Okay. Um, what's the worst video that is still available to the public on your main channel?
The Ocarina of Time medley that I talked about earlier in the interview. It's somewhere online, and you can find it, but I'm not gonna say where.
Okay, it's
But
there.
do you mean my channel?
Oh yeah, that's what I meant. Is like the FamilyJules
Okay.
channel right now.
I would say the Route 4 cover that I did with Low and Slow 8. The only reason for that was there was miscommunication between us. He had a very tight deadline of like how he could record. He did the drums, but he did an electric kit, which I didn't know that's what he was doing, and he didn't record it multi-track. So I needed to kind of adapt to the drums that he sent me. And it kind of, the mix really suffered because of it. And I was also on a tight deadline. I put it up. It was one of the weekly year one covers,
Yeah.
and I was just, whatever. They're not always going to be good if you're doing weekly, so I just let it go.
Yeah, and I mean, like, speaking of like shit that isn't on your main channel, like if you just type in your name, you can find weird, like, cool classical guitar performances that you've had. Those are out there somewhere. Go. Yeah. It's a quest now. It's a side quest in your life. Go find cool classical guitar performances by Jules.
Or don't.
Or don't. Maybe don't. Actually, you know what? Don't. That's your side quest. Don't. Pineapple on pizza? Yes or no?
No.
Okay. If there is a God, when you die, what will you say to him?
There's a 1,000 paragraph story called The Egg. I can't remember who wrote it, but you should search it.
Mm.
And it's all about a man who dies in a car accident and speaks with God. And the story is actually in the first-person view of God. And I would ask God if that story is at all true, if that's actually how the world is, or well, how the universe is. That's what I would ask him.
All right, very cool. What is your favorite game OST right now? I think I may know.
Yeah.
I mean,
Minecraft. No.
Yeah, dude, fucking C418, right? It's like, I mean, C418 is not going to hear that. Though. Yeah, it is. It is. Do you prefer living in Massachusetts or California?
Oh my God, California.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Final lightning round question. What's the best way to ask out a girl?
I would say by not. Well, like it would have to be after some time. Like I wouldn't say like, I mean, if you really want, I don't know, man. I mean, like you ask out a girl naturally that you've developed at least a little bit of a relationship with already, for the most part. But if I think the best way to ask out a girl is probably don't if you have to ask twice.
Yeah.
If they say no,
I would
just,
agree with
dude,
that.
let it go, man. Like, just God damn.
Yeah. All right, kids, right? You make your move, but no fucking means no, okay?
Yeah. Don't be an incel. Just Just if she says no, try to get over it. It might suck, but move on.
Yeah. All right, so our next segment here is we have some fan questions from some people at the FamilyJules Discord. I'm gonna shout you guys out. I hope I don't horribly mispronounce your names. We're gonna try. So we have Mallow from the FamilyJules Discord has the question: did you have any other dreams for your future as a kid besides being a musician?
I saw Apollo 13 once, and I thought I wanted to be an astronaut.
Nice.
Yeah. That's probably it. Other than that, I had no plans for my future.
Yeah. Mallow also asked, what's your favorite non-metal music genre?
K-pop, right now.
K-pop. Hell yeah, dude. All right, then we have, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Elfheim? Yeah, he's in the Discord. He's the dude with like the solid snake profile picture. It's either Elfheim or Elfhim. I'm not sure. But he asks, what's your opinion on YouTube musicians as a whole? I
think it's too general. I think I feel like there's so many different kinds of YouTube musicians, and you're encompassing all the way from like E-rock all the way to like the many, many talented or maybe not talented channels with only a few subscribers that let like YouTube musicians kind of like encompasses a huge group of people who I mean, my opinion on YouTube musicians in general is that um, they exist. It's too general. I think the question is just kind of like do I like them? I don't really,
I
you know what
mean,
I mean? Like I don't really know
yeah.
what the question really is.
Come on, Elf. Got to be more specific with these, buddy.
Sorry, man.
And then we have one more fan. It's just Nate, all caps. Nate asks 2 questions. The first question: how many memes do you consume a day?
Okay, so interesting. There is a subreddit called r/meme economy.
All right.
The premise of this subreddit is that once you join this system, you get 1,000 meme coins.
Okay.
And when you see a meme that you like, you usually browse by new. You invest your meme coins into it, and there's a whole ROI system. There's a whole algorithm that say like, okay, here is your investment. Here's the amount of upvotes it has at your initial investment, and then after 4 hours, how many upvotes it has at that point is how much you return. And it's how much money you gain back. And then if you make a profit on it, if it's a meme that blows up. I have 20 something million meme coins.
Wow. So he consumes 20 million something memes a day. That's very impressive.
That's my. It's not like I made a sock puppet account so people can't look up FamilyJules on r/meme account.
Nice.
But yeah, so that's a hobby that I picked up. Oops, sorry.
Oh.
My toe touched the guitar thing. That's a good amount, enough to acquire 20 million meme coins.
Yeah, and then the final fan question is also from Nate. He asks, what used to be your favorite pastime before you sold your soul to the YouTube and music gods?
I don't remember. That was a long time ago.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
My soul is
long
empty,
gone.
hollowed, and it's been many, many years since it's been anything other than that. No, I think before that it was just playing in bands, drinking coffee. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, this brings us to the last segment of our show, where I want to thank you so much for giving me an hour of your time for this interview. It was very, very interesting. Our next interviewee that we have up is your boy Toxic X Eternity, who was mentioned in this interview. Jack is going to be our interview for the month of November. I'm going to try and do one of these every single month. So at the end here, I want to ask you, what question do you want to ask Jack? And I will ask that as the first question of the next episode of this series. It could be serious, it can be stupid as hell. One question.
Ask him if he's ever considered shooting hoops.
There you go, everyone. And then, as well, 2 more questions. This is what I wanted to do. Is you were talking about it earlier, about how we should try to do stuff that nobody has done. I don't know if anybody's done this, but sort of the thing that I wanted to do with this show is not necessarily just interview a specific group of people on YouTube, which are YouTube musicians, but I want to play a little game. So every single time I interview someone, I will write them a 10-second long song, and they will give me 1 or maybe 2 prompts on what the song will be about, if there will be like lyrics in the song, what to sing about, if there's a particular guitar technique or a particular sound. So I'm going to write a 10-second song this weekend for this interview. What do you want it to be about, or what do you want it to be like? Please don't make it too hard. Please.
That's I don't know. Okay, how about I don't know, man. That's
It could be dumb. Like, it could be the dumbest thing, and I'll work with it. Like, you can give me a word, you can give me a color, you can give me an instrument, even if I don't have it, and I'll make it work. Because it's going to be like a 10-second song. It's going to be super short. And I'll put it at the end of this video, so you'll know what it is very shortly.
I want you to cover a Grant Kirkhope song.
Okay.
Every note of the melody has to be a minor second.
Oh. Oh. A minor second, like, of the tonic key, or like just a minor second?
Every melody note that you play needs to have a harmony of a minor second on top of it.
Oh. Oh,
And
I see what you mean.
you have to do your best to make it not sound like you have to try to make the minor seconds fit as close to the key as you can. So my hint to you is that if you're in a major key, which a lot of Grant Kirkhope songs are in, you have a minor second between the major seven and the tonic.
Okay. Well,
Some won't work, but do your best.
I mean, like, I could just make it two guitars and then just throw like a minor second on top of that and make it like a really bad harmony of every single note. Yeah, okay, I can do that. So you're gonna hear that in a second. Last question I just came up with, it's just gonna be like my face and your face, so I should probably throw up a screensaver. What do you want the screensaver to be?
I don't know.
Like, what do you want to see like in the background for like an hour while we talk? It'll be anything. I'll find something.
You can put my logo, or you can just
Logo. Okay.
I don't know.
I mean, because I was thinking it could be something stupid, like like for Boy Flop, it was a beach. It could be like a puppy dog playing in a field. It'd be some rabbits. Well, I guess I'll put a logo. It's FamilyJules logo. This has been there. All right. Well, that's going to be the end of the interview. Jules, why don't you let everyone know where they can find you on YouTube and how they can support you right now?
YouTube.com/FamilyJules7X. I've got an album coming out at the end of the month on October 28th. It's called the Eightfold Road Metal Arrangements from Octopath Traveler. You can buy it on Bandcamp, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify. Well, you can't buy it on. Well, you listen to it on Spotify, and if this is before the 28th, you can pre-order the album. There's, I think, like 6 songs that you'll get right now if you pre-order the album. The physical CD is going to be shipped out in November. If you guys want to get that, it's a beautiful 2 CD digipack. Other than that, once November rolls around, I'm going to be covering all sorts of different things again. It's going to be the end of the Octopath train for me. So if you're not into Octopath, very shortly I'll be changing gears. But yeah, other than that, my Twitter is FamilyJules7X. You can find me on Twitch at some point when I decide to start streaming again. And that's twitch.tv/FamilyJules, I think. Yeah, my website is FamilyJules7X.com with all the links that if you want to find me will be there. So I appreciate everybody who has listened to me for all of this time. Newcomers, people who are just discovering me now. I appreciate everybody. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I actually think this interview might come out on the 28th. Now that
cool.
I think about it. So yeah, next, remember, freaking subscribe because we got your boy Toxic X Eternity coming up next month. I also make covers. Check those out if you like them. They're similar to Jules, but not too similar because we don't want to follow in his footsteps too much. We got to do something new. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you, Jules, for coming on the show, and we'll see you next time with Toxic X Eternity. Later.